here we go. It's time to announce ourselves as doing season 9. So, Degrassi season 9 started in Canada on October 4th, 2009, and ended July 16th, 2010, and had 23 episodes, 19 episodes, and a movie split up into 4 other episodes. So, anyway, only one school year passed in the story timeline. Season 9 is in the spring semester and all that. So, anyway, there was problems such as drug abuse, sexting, STDs, sexual identity, homosexuality, crime, sex, and relationships. So anyway, Degrassi Takes Manhattan is the movie, by the way. So Holly J's been in 20 episodes, Declan 18, and Zap 18. But I think Holly J is my MVP. I mean, she actually changed her tune a bit. So anyway, yeah, there's season 9 and all that. By the way, there were some Canadian premieres on Much Music instead of CTV, so this was probably when CTV was convinced that they couldn't do it. So anyway, the first half of this season included a number 2-part episodes that aired on the same night aired on the same night on CTV, and then Much Music later in the week. Just Can't Get Enough was an hour-long season premiere, and Beat It and Heart Like Mine were also 2-part episodes. Anyway, the second half of the season premiered on Much Music at 1 episode a week, and then CTV a few weeks later did the back-to-back format. So obviously, the rumor CTV would be getting rid of Degrassi. Either it ends the Degrassi franchise or it's not a station. So anyway, Just Can't Get Enough starts when Mia is given a chance to model in Paris. Peter wants to go to Paris, but he doesn't fit into the world. A guest offers an escape, which leads Peter on a dark path because he's so insecure about that. And Ali is jealous when Clara spends time with Jenna. And Holly J is stressed out because people want stuff from her, being the queen bee and all that. This was Mia's last appearance needing a Dobrev before she went to, not Oktoberfest, Vampire Diaries. Next is Shoot to Thrill. Allie feels like her relationship with Johnny is going nowhere. She decides to spice things up a bit. However, Fiona finds the male students at Degrassi repulsive until she finds Riley. But Riley feels like he has nothing. He has to hide from Fiona. He's gay. Close to Me is the next episode. Is when Jane loves Spinner for the bottom of her heart, but basically she tries not to flirt and cheat on Spinner. Casey's new coach finally lets him play in a basketball game, but the coach freaks on him or something like that. Allie decides to leave Johnny and UB Early. However, she falls for him once again. Peter actually regains his position in the band Studs, but they decided to recruit Jane. Holly J and Jane in Wanna Be Starting Something, the 6th episode, surprise themselves when they bond and start babysitting business. But Holly J has a crush on Declan. Dave wants to be on the blog, but Shantae does not want him to be in the blog. Beat It. It was 7th and 8th episodes. It was 2-parter. Basically, Riley's determined to prove to the world and himself that he's straight after an incident in lifeguard class. And Riley is accused of gay bashing after punching Sam and is ostracized by his classmates. He tries to find a deprogrammer to make himself straight and all that. Meanwhile, Anya lies to Sav about her activities. And Sav does find out that Anya and Leia were LARPing, live-action role-playing, and is upset and bewildered that Anya will hold out some losers. And Dave actually wants to go out with Jenna, but Jenna does not want Dave around. By the way, Blue is done after Beat It. Waiting for a Girl Like You was the 9th episode. It's matchmaker week at Degrassi, and Declan does not want a serious relationship. But when he sees Holly J, he's surprised to find out she's immune to his charms. Meanwhile, Layla confronts Enchante about her relationship with Danny. Next is Somebody. This episode was when Holly J falls for Declan, Meanwhile, Dave and Connor's friendship is strained as Dave tries to be popular on the basketball team. Connor is on the basketball team. I guess as a bench warmer or something. Heart Like Mine comes up, and this is about Casey. But anyway, Marco does come back to Degrassi as a student teacher, but Holly J uses the friendship with him to her advantage, or tries to. Meanwhile, Fiona wants to be part of the school's musical, and Declan gives her a part, I guess, a brother-sister thing. But anyway, Casey's life is on the fast track. He wants to have Coach Carson help him with emotional support because he and Claire are growing apart and he wants to be near Jenna. Casey also begins to question his relationship with Coach Carson after he demonstrates questionable behavior as a teacher. Coach Carson had a gun or something. Or was that Casey who had the gun? Someone had a gun. Oh, I think Casey brought a gun to try to protect himself from Coach Carson. Holiday Road is when we find out about Emma. Emma returns to Degrassi along with Kelly on their cross-country bike tour and is keeping a secret from Snake and Spike. And Shantae wants people to know that Danny Van Sant is cheap. Holiday Road was a culmination of things for Emma. I mean, I watched the episode looking at how Emma and Kelly's relationship is, but it's not going too well. I mean, Kelly actually tries a cheeseburger, and of course, Emma is scorning at him. And then, of course, Kelly's dad wants Kelly to get a paid job because he feels that what Kelly's doing with the environment doesn't pay the bills. And also, I think he has a thing against Emma because, thinking that Emma was bossing around. So Kelly decides to take a job with his dad and head back to the Yukon, whereas Emma is left high and dry. And Emma basically tries to do the recycling project all by herself, but finds out she can't do it. And worst of all is that Emma's grades are suffering because she's trying to prevent people from thinking she's dull. She's trying to change her personality, which kind of doesn't work out. With Manny and Liberty moving on to their own devices, Emma feels trapped and alone. Snake and Spike do try to help Emma out, say what she wants in life. Start Me Up is when Peter actually opens up a club about the dot to occupy his time. But Peter's put in a dilemma because Victoria returns. That's Declan and Fiona's cousin who gave him the medication. Meanwhile, Claire tries to write a small autobiography on herself, but basically doesn't know how to handle it because, of her Christianity and all that. Next will be Why Can't This Be Love? It's the two-part when Anya and Sav want to go to the spring formal, but Sav gets introduced to his arranged wife. Of course, the Indian culture and all that. Everything changes. Anya does worry that Sav's and her relationship comes to a bitter end when Sav's arranged wife enters her life. Basically, she doesn't know what to do with herself. Johnny tries to win Ali back by asking her to the formal. When she refuses, Bruce sets him up with Lindsay, a waitress at a pool hall. But basically, Bruce and Johnny have a fight. Meanwhile, Dave and Ali are set on drink serving duty at the formal and bond when she realizes he isn't as immature as they may think. Innocent When You Dream is when Claire has sexually vampire dreams about Declan and puts him into fanfic, which unfortunately leads her into her real life. Meanwhile, the other members of the band are busy with finals, and Sav begins to feel lonely and reconsiders his breakup with Anya, but mostly because of his parents, I think. In Your Eyes is when Riley's been hiding his feelings about sexuality for a long time and struggles about being open and find sane. Another guy helps him. Claire volunteers to tutor Casey and Math as friends, but basically Jenna wants Casey to slack off on studying. Keep on Loving You is the last episode before Degrassi takes Manhattan. Holly and Jay and Declan are going strong, but Declan can't say the L word, love, and she takes personally. Meanwhile, Fiona's mom comes to town and announces to Fiona and Declan that they're going to move to New York. Peter and Shantae are the leads in the musical, but Danny doesn't want Shantae kissing Peter. In this episode, Degrassi takes Manhattan. So then we get Degrassi takes Manhattan. Let's just see about that. Jane, Holly, Jay, Declan, and Fiona are there. the plot is that, okay, with that, Janie and the Studs, I don't know what's going on, but knowing that Spinner and Jane want to spend time with each other, Spinner hires Emma as a new server, basically telling her not to use the sandwich grill and all that. With the dot now employed, Spinner and Jane actually head to Fiona and Declan's house. Basically, Holly J talks to Jane about the time Jane cheated on Spinner with Declan. Spinner realizes all that. This new information, along with the fact that Jane wants to leave the country to go to college, causes Spinner to break up with Jane. Unfortunately, Spinner is in deep trouble because Emma accidentally uses the shorting sandwich grill and it's on fire. This causes Spinner to fall into a deep depression. So anyway, Jane gets invited to live in the penthouse suite in Manhattan with Holly J, Declan, and Fiona. Jane continues to explore New York and gets invited to find an indie plant. Yeah. So anyway, there's a lot of things going on. Holly J, and Fiona, and Declan. So basically, there's a lot of things going on there. In an attempt to cheer up Spinner, Emma, Manny, and Jay kidnap him and take him to a casino in Niagara Falls. Unfortunately, Emma and Spinner become drunk and end up having a legal marriage. So basically, they don't know what to think about it. They might not get a divorce. So anyway, Spinner tells Jane that they're going to hold a ceremony on Saturday. Jane realizes she has feelings for him and tries to get back to Toronto. When Spinner and Emma start to question their marriage, they both say to each other that they need to wait to see if it works. They go back to their friends, retelling the conversation ahead, but they do love each other. So Spinner runs back to the Simpson house and home to profess his love for Emma. And the wedding ceremony happens. Holly J and Declan need to make sure Jane doesn't stop the wedding, but Jane steals the car. So anyway, she lets the wedding continue after realizing that Spinner is still in love with Emma. I feel so bad for Jane and all that. It was kind of a weird thing. Like, Jane being psycho bitch. I kind of think that Jane is obviously the villain. I mean, she had Spinner. She wanted to do her own things. I feel like Declan is also a villain, but Declan's not really a villain yet. So that's how I'm going to say it, and that's how season 9's thing ends.